So Davante Adams has officially requested a trade after Antonio Pierce, the Las Vegas Raiders head coach, liked a post.
What a mess.
But
What,
yeah,
what, what a mess.
how 2024 does this sound? Let's just
No,
start there. Really,
That's like that. Something like that doesn't surprise me nowadays with social media and stuff. Pierce in his head. I don't know. Maybe he didn't mean for them to see that, or maybe he just stupidly.
maybe not. Either way, Davante
Regardless,
said, "You know what? I want to break up too." Is what he said, and
peace.
basically decided to request a trade. Now, the teams that he wants to go to is the Saints I said Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Since
had
those
Aaron
are
Rodgers.
the two quarterbacks that he's familiar with. He said he wants somebody that knows his game. Makes sense. But F all that. What we're going to do here today is give you guys our three main landing spots for one of the game's best receivers that's been rotting away in Las Vegas, playing with Jimmy G, playing with Gardner Minshew, and whoever the hell else hopped under center to throw the ball to this all-time great. So I'll have you kick us off here.
Yeah, man. Listen, I know he gave his list of teams and stuff like that, or he gave the top two teams we're talking about right now. But it's a business. That doesn't mean he's going to go to where he wants. It's not that he's been with Las Vegas his whole career or nothing like that. He can go anywhere. It's wherever gives the best offer, all that stuff. One thing I do want to add too, and I wanted to pull it up before I give my teams. The Saints wide receivers coach has also worked with Davante Adams as a personal wide receivers coach and is someone that Adams refers to as a mentor. So more reason to to buy into the Saints hype of getting Davante Adams. But they're not even on my list, Jerry. I have three teams in front of me. They're not even on my list. I'm telling you that right now. I do have an honorable mention who I do want to give a shout out to very quickly before I give my top three landing spots, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. This is a team that isn't being talked about. This is a team that I don't know how many people are even fantasizing about the idea of them getting Davante Adams. But you have a young quarterback in Anthony Richardson who is, he's learning. He's getting there. Missed, most of the last season with an injury. I have him on my fantasy team, so I know what kind of roller coaster ride it is. Yes. Great rusher, all that stuff, but throwing, it's a little choppy. We're getting there. That's something we got to improve on. But one way to do that is getting a bona fide wide receiver one, getting a superstar receiver like Davante Adams. Again, it's an honorable mention. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but just in case it does happen, I want to say that I called it. So
you know what?
My shot.
You gave your honorable mention before we hear your first one here, your number 3 team. Mm-hmm. I want to give mine real quick.
Please.
Just because why not? Actually, just thought about it on the spot, but how about a return to Green Bay? That's like it's something it makes sense, right? They don't really have an identified receiver one. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs.
I have like 4 guys that
it flip-flops each game. It's not consistent. Like Dante Wicks or Jordan Reed one game. Like I need them to establish like this is going to be our go-to guy. This is the guy that's going to get double covered. Instead, everybody's pretty much being contained in a zone, or they're easily manning them up some plays until somebody happens to break free. So I think he should have just stayed in Green Bay regardless of what was happening with Aaron Rodgers, which is why he left in the first place. But it kind of makes a lot of sense to me. Like that's going to be my honorable mention, just in case it does happen, just like you, that I think the Packers should go get their guy back, who also holds a lot of franchise records for him. Like, why not?
He has a lot. He has given a lot of high praise to Jordan Love in the past. I don't think, I don't think he regrets, getting out of Green Bay at that time. But I'm sure if he knew how good Jordan Love was, I'm sure if he saw, if he could hindsight 2020, if he knew how good Jordan Love would be, probably would have stayed. But I like that. Wasn't even thinking that. But here are my top 3. Okay, here are my top 3.
Talk to me.
This is no order, no particular order. This is just a collective of teams. First team I have is the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's simple. I know they're one of the top teams. They are the top team. They're defending champs, but they have a huge wide receiver issue right now. Hollywood Brown is out. Rashee Rice, we're still figuring out how severe his injury is. They at first were saying it could be an ACL tear. Still could be, but nothing confirmed yet. Travis Kelce having statistically the worst year of his career. Just not a lot of good stuff happening in the receiver room. So getting someone like Davante Adams solves that.
I think it'll make it a lot better.
Yes, like Xavier Worthy, they're still, and he's still a rookie. So like, you would really be putting a lot of pressure on him. Getting someone like Davante Adams, even if
it helped Xavier Worthy out to have
Absolutely.
Davante Adams.
And I was gonna say it takes a lot of pressure off of him in the case where like it just opens the field up so much more. Where like you have another option like Davante. So Chiefs, it just makes too much sense. I know they're the top team and stuff, but it really does just make too much sense. Second team I have here, team you mentioned earlier. They're on his list. They're also on mine. The New York Jets. I reunion with Aaron Rodgers. It's at this point, this is probably the team that I'm leaning more towards that he's going to go to. Like realistically, like
It's the best story, right? It just feels so good to
makes
see that.
sense. Like Aaron Rodgers gets his wide receiver back. That's his guy right there. Davante Adams gets his quarterback. That's his guy right there, right? So I think a reunion is the most possible, like the most likely thing to happen. And then two, like, you know, the Jets they're Super Bowl contenders, or they're looking to be Super Bowl contenders, making a Super Bowl run. Like you said, there's no better story than starting off. Like Rodgers goes down last year, comes back, starting off kind of like, we're still figuring it out.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson complaining about touches, and I think he has like a career low in targets since A-Rod's back and kind of trying to get everybody involved. So maybe that can help Garrett Wilson, just like how we said it would help out Xavier Worthy. It helped.
I think it speeds up the process if they get someone like Davante, and if they're going all in, they've been going all in since Aaron Rodgers was even rumored to be going to New York. I think this is an all-in move. So I think this is the most likely thing to happen. But my third team I have here, which again, like this makes sense. This isn't a team I'm hearing a lot of rumors about going after Davante, but the Buffalo Bills. This team, they started out 3-1. They started off better than I honestly thought they would because their wide receiver core, it really isn't that great. Khalil Shakir is like the main guy. Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, who isn't really having the best start to the year yet. People had a lot of expectations for him.
Me included, my fantasy team.
Yeah, right. And I think like Josh Allen has been proving so far this year that he is making diamonds out of shit. I don't want to say those guys are shit, but he lost Diggs this offseason. Like that was his go-to guy. Doesn't have his go-to guy. Lost Gabe Davis. He has Curtis Samuel, but not really as productive as he used to be. Get Josh Allen, Davante Adams. He just lost Diggs. Get him Adams. That team is 3-1 right now, top of the AFC, or one of the top teams in the AFC. They will continue to be at the top of the AFC if they get someone like Davante Adams, and they are Super Bowl contenders. And especially if a team like Kansas City, who is having trouble with their receiver room with all these injuries and stuff, the Bills going after someone like Davante Adams, getting one step ahead.
It'll be scary.
Away from Kansas City. I'm not giving any predictions of who's beating who when the postseason comes around, but the Bills are looking good. So those are my three teams.
Nah, that's fair. Man, you know, before I even get started here, I'm just going to go out and say right now we have one of the teams the same for the same reasons, the nostalgia blast.
I'm happy it's only one.
Oh, yeah. Like, hey, man, the Jets that's like, it's not my number one if I had to rank them, but literally I think having all that talent on one roster, and New York has already proved that, hey, Aaron Rodgers, here's the keys. This is your organization. Run us.
Any decision, anything you want done, we'll do it.
So if that's the case, then this is the one that just feels like it makes the most sense. So I'm with you there. But that's the only team we got in common. Thankfully.
Okay. I honestly figured you would have the Jets on there. So
yeah, like I had to. Like we all should. We all should. Yeah. We should all love it. Like honestly, come on.
Yeah.
But
he's on ours. Should be on all ours.
For sure. Another team I have up here though is the Baltimore Ravens, who are already showing that they have the best run game in the league, just like how they showed last year before they decided to add Derrick Henry, which is still ridiculous how he ended up in Baltimore.
Good decision. Good decision on both parts.
Very much so.
Both parts, yeah.
Hey, RPOs are a son of a to actually stop. Like like defensive coordinators are already scratching their heads like, damn, like who do we commit to? Either we get burnt out by Lamar or we get ran over by Derrick. So very much
poison.
Exactly. You're picking your poison. But Zay Flowers, in my mind, isn't a true receiver one.
Not yet. He can be, but not yet.
Eventually, yeah. But I think he'll flourish more.
As I say that, as I have him on my dynasty team. That is so I'm really Come on, Zay.
Not a bad receiver. He's good.
No, he's good. He's good. Just not wide receiver one status yet.
But when you add in a guy like Davante Adams, and I know some people complain, it's like, well, Baltimore doesn't really – they don't throw the ball a lot. if you get a guy like Davante Adams, I bet you John Harbaugh is
You'll
gonna
learn to throw the ball a little bit more.
absolutely. And then at that point, you have a three-headed monster. You have a quarterback that can take it to the house. Hey, you have a running back that can take it to the house, and you have one of the best receivers in the game, if not the best, when it comes down to catch radius, when it comes down to even speed. Like it's
talk about three-headed monsters. That would be a tough trio.
Tough
trio to stop on offense.
I kid you not. I would pencil them in. Like that's an AFC Championship team right there. I'd pencil them in.
Justice Hill is having a pretty good year as backup running back.
Weapons,
like you said, moving over to wide receiver too.
And I'm assuming that Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely will eventually start producing.
Figure it out there.
Hey, when you have a guy like Davante Adams that opens up the field for everybody else.
Like I said with the Bills, bro, it's like if the Chiefs are down this year, take advantage, go after guys like this, and run right over them. No pun intended.
Yeah, literally, Baltimore. In my mind, I know people don't like it. I know cap space wise, it might not make a lot of sense either. But if they could somehow figure this out,
you got to go all in for a championship. You got to do it.
They should do this, man. The window's closing. The last team that I have on here for you, which actually in my mind, it probably makes the most sense just from a standpoint of longevity and to actually help this team propel itself to new heights, especially since they started so high. How about we give some love to the Washington Commanders? That right there. I know it sounds weird. It's like, what? But they're 3-1. They're leading the NFC East right now. And as it kind of looks, they could probably make the playoffs. They're probably going to win their division.
They look good. They look good right now. Good, lucky on them for being in the division that they are in. But they're taking advantage of it.
Yeah, their defense is very questionable. That's the part that worries me. I think they're going to have to.
Is not anything to write home about.
No, they're going to have to outscore a lot of teams to actually stay in some games and get some timely stops. But
Jaden Daniels is making it happen right now.
That is arguably the best quarterback in the NFC right now.
Bad man. Right
so. Yeah, having all that together, and then again, we have Terry McLaurin, who's already in place over there. Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, the running game straight. Like I'm kind of looking at that Zach Ertz type. Like I kind of like the way it's molding up in my head. Like it's kind of weird, but I'm thinking about from a standpoint where most young quarterbacks, or at least think of some guys like I don't know, like Donovan McNabb at one point gets Terrell Owens out of nowhere, and it's kind of like wow. Oh, shit, we went to the Super Bowl the next year. Then an NFC Championship game.
I mean, it's like Jaden Daniels is like Terry McLaurin's always been good. He just haven't had great quarterbacks. We're seeing McLaurin's potential kind of being untapped here with Jaden Daniels.
Hey,
if you give someone like Jaden Daniels a guy like Davante Adams, you're like progressing his like
development,
his development so much more quicker, like rapidly. And who knows, they could lead them to a championship.
That should be the main goal if you're the Washington Commanders, is trying to maximize this guy's talent. Whenever young quarterbacks are able to get good weapons, like Tom Brady wasn't necessarily young when he got Randy Moss, but damn it, this Randy Moss had 23 touchdowns in one season as a receiver.
I mean, last year, when the Texans saw how good CJ was, they went out and got him Diggs. Maybe the Commanders, they don't wait till next year. Maybe they get him someone now. They like, okay, we've seen enough. We know how good this guy is. Let's actually go get him pieces, because I feel like now they can compete.
You're coming around to the idea now.
I get it. No, you're making sense. Sense. I wouldn't put him at the top of my list. I don't know if I didn't put them on my list. I wouldn't put them in the top 3, but I respect it. I do. You make a strong case.
We're looking at the Commanders as this team that's kind of like, all right, yeah, they're 3-1 right now, but yeah, they're in the NFC East, whatever. But they beat the Bengals, and that's a team that a lot of guys, a lot of analysts,
Patriots beat the Bengals too.
They did. I know they took advantage of a weaker team, but I really feel like once you get into the playoffs, nothing else even matters. Whatever happened in the regular season, all you know is that when you look at the schedule, oh wow, they beat a couple good teams on their schedule so far. If the Commanders happen to get to the postseason, I wouldn't want to play Jaden Daniels. Maybe you could take advantage of that defense. You probably could. Their pass rush is also kind of but it's still a situation where I look at the Commanders and say, hey, another weapon at receiver. I'm not saying they win the Super Bowl. I'm not even saying they get to an NFC Championship game, but it definitely pulls you a lot closer to where they probably thought they would be, because they're already 3-1. I didn't expect them to be 3-1.
No, me neither.
No,
me neither.
That's my three though. I got the Commanders. I love Baltimore being my favorite though.
I like that one too.
Then the New York Jets is obviously everybody's nostalgia feel.